Hey, everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver, here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
It is good. It is good. I have been working on something fun through Fidget Whimsy I wanted to share with you guys. So
Yeah.
I'm doing Easter eggs. So it's an Easter egg like this. And then in it, you get one of my fidget snails that has fun little fidget potion. This one is a green Aurora snail.
So cute.
And then it comes with an assortment of other little bits. Like there's a paw,
Cute.
there's a frog, there's a gummy bear, and a little bit bigger bear, and a
Aw.
puppy. And it's just kind of a mix. Like it won't all be exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it's an Easter egg with a snail and some other little toys in it for Easter if you're looking to give Easter stuff away.
Sure.
So that is
I love it.
available now. And the other thing that I did is I actually have a real store. I've been
Yeah.
trying to just do it on Instagram, and it's just not been enough. So I actually have a little store now where you can shop my wares. Not everything is there yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a link with you guys, though, if you're interested in Easter eggs. So the Easter eggs are $15, and if you buy 2, you get free shipping. And there is definitely time to get them out into the world, to get them to you before Easter if you've got
Yeah.
somebody you need to give an Easter gift to. So I'm going to post a link to them in the chat. But the other
Awesome.
easy thing you can do if you're interested is you can go to my Instagram, which is Fidget Whimsy, and the link that's in my bio is actually the link directly to these, and it takes you into my store as well. So you can do it that way, or I'm going to put the link here. I'll put it in the show notes as well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty proud of them. My snails are so cute.
I
They're
love it.
just literally my favorite thing that I make. And then I thought it'd be really fun for kids to get a little assortment of
Yeah.
stuff like this for Easter. So
I love it.
anyway, wanted to share that with y'all.
Very
That's
fun.
pretty much what I've been putting my energy and time into is making those and building a store. Good Lord.
Yeah.
That is a job and a half, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, good job. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I have been
Thank you.
playing with glass. So I went into a couple of art glass stores when we were in Tucson.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just don't have art. We don't. There's not a single art glass store in Idaho that I'm aware of that does
Oh,
fused
wow.
glass. And so, everything I've done is online, but Tucson has some art glass stores. So we went in them. Got to visit with some really cool art people and see their amazing creations and stuff. And I
That's
bought
so
some
fun.
glass with some plans of things I want to make, but I already had a big project in motion all over my glass table. So, of course, my first inclination was, I got to pack all this shit up so I can do this. And then I went, no, you're not. You're finishing one thing before you move on to the next. There's a concept.
What?
So I
Finish one project before moving on to
I
the
know.
next? This is a concept I am unfamiliar with.
Me too. So I decided, so I've been putting a lot of energy the last couple of days into getting that project done so that I can clear it out and, be responsible and shit. So, there's no promises, but I just wanted to show you one of these what they are is they're little glass, this will have a hole drilled in it with a ribbon, but they're little glass, like sun catchery, chimey things. Like you could hang this from a plant or a window or a car window or,
Yeah.
mirror if it's not illegal in your state or whatever, But anyway, this one is just my favorite. It's mushies.
Oh,
Isn't
I
that
love the
cute?
mushrooms.
I took a picture too because I know it's hard to see. Some things are just
But
so hard to
mushroom
see with
stuff
the
is
ring lights.
legit the cutest.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Is that not the cutest thing ever?
Yes.
Anyway, so I have a whole bunch of them. I've made like oh gosh, I'm going to say 25 of these, either round or square, and they are to be attached to the fronts of greeting cards. And
Aw.
it's going to be great. They're really, really
Yeah.
cute. And I've also been designing the greeting cards, so they're ready to print as well. And this is a little square one too. That's just got little flowers on it. But anyway, so yeah, lots of glass playing and making myself be disciplined and finish one project before I move on. I'm so excited for the glass I brought home. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
tear through that in a hot minute, but it's so expensive and crazy. But anyway,
But
so
fun. Gosh, you make such cute stuff. The one you gave me for Valentine's Day that's a heart that has
mhm.
flowers on it is so cute. I just got
Yeah,
some like suction cup hooks to put on my kitchen window so that I can
yeah,
hang because I'm gonna hang it there.
nice. I love it. So these will be the cards and everything I'm hoping to have done by the weekend, and then they'll go on Etsy. So I'll let you know. But at any
Cool.
rate, Christine said, "So adult of you, right? Right? I know.
Look at you.
Mostly, I con Scott into cutting all this glass for me because that really is the worst part. And I
Mhm.
knew if I didn't use the glass he cut, I would never hear the end of it. So,
Yeah, that seems like a universal truth with Scott Weaver. Mhm.
right? I know. I could just hear it now. So anyway, I really had to finish it up because I want to con him into cutting more glass in the future. So
Oh, please. I heard a rumor that he actually really enjoyed cutting the glass.
He did an awesome job. An awesome job. Well, and I did a little bit of cutting on Monday and got 2 cuts on my fingers. See, I shouldn't do it. I get cut.
You're right.
So,
It's not safe.
if you don't get cut when you're doing glass, you didn't even do glass. But
That seems legit.
yeah, unfortunate. But, you can also put on gloves if you are that grown up.
It's kind of like if you do resin, you're not even doing
Mhm.
resin unless you've ruined about 12 things before you made one that worked
Mhm.
when you're
Oh,
learning resin. Hmm.
yeah. Well, Brandy, welcome to the neighborhood. She moved
Oh,
into
Brandy's
town not too far from me. Well,
nice.
cool. Yeah. Well, I know there's all kinds of wild weather going on, tornado warnings, snow apocalypses, all
Yikes.
kinds
Yeah.
of horrible winds. Utah's supposed to have like 60 to 80 mile an hour gusts tomorrow.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and we seem to be kind of sitting in the bubble here. At least I think we
That's
are.
because Utah sucks and Idaho blows. Remember? That's a local joke about wind and well, or you can say it either way depending on which state's getting the wind, but
Yeah. Well, or St. Anthony.
yeah.
We've said that about St. Anthony forever. It's because,
Hmm.
you know,
St.
Rexburg
Anthony
sucks, St.
catches a lot of
Anthony
shit
blows,
from
or St. Anthony.
Rexburg and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. St. Anthony around here gets a really bad rep. It's very unfair. But that's is it unfair? It's partly earned, I think, but whatever. It's fine. It's
I
probably
don't
fine.
know.
I'd live in St. Anthony. I
It's where Chad
I would.
Daybell is in jail right now.
Right? Chad said
So,
he would live in St. Anthony. He's been living there for the last 4 years. Yep.
yes, he has.
Well, maybe with that, maybe we kick it off with Daybell.
Well, I think we should.
There's been a bunch of filings. There are things that we kind of knew were happening, but or kind of got in on the tail end with that sealed hearing last week. Typical. It sucks when you have to go, well, here we go again with all of the
Hmm.
sealed everything, but
Right.
a few interesting bits though. Uh, so he had to send in his service, his alibi. They have a certain amount of time right now while we're pre-trial and very close to trial. There's lots of things that have to be filed, and one of them, of course, is alibi, and then the state has to say, yeah, we got that. Those things happened. Um, let's see. So yeah, yesterday there was 4 things. Yeah. There was the state's notice of service of witness and exhibit list. But the more interesting one is the order
Mm-hmm.
appointing the special assistant attorney general. So,
Yes. Very interesting.
yeah. So, as we know, Rachel Smith has now left the case and has moved on to the Jeremy Best case. And like
Rachel
she's
Smith is gonna just have to move to Idaho, I guess. I don't
Rachel, aren't
even
you
know what to say
sick
about
of
that.
our shit yet? Right?
Right?
But I did want to introduce you to a face you're going to be seeing in court. So this is the Deputy Attorney General that's been appointed to the Daybell prosecutorial team. And I'm so happy it's a woman. This is Ingrid Beatty.
Yes.
And it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool because this is, again, I'm glad that we had another woman come in because
Mhm.
that's just good. But
Yes.
interestingly, Ingrid also has been, at least, and maybe she still is in some part, on the Kohberger team.
Oh, really? I did not
Mhm.
know that.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basically, it looks like because this is such a high profile case, I think they wanted to have a member of the Attorney General's office on board. So in Blake's
Yeah.
petition to the court, she said, I seek assistance in this case in order to utilize the expertise and additional resources of the Office of the Attorney General. The Attorney General's office has agreed in writing to assist the Fremont County Prosecuting Attorney's office in this matter. And the judge said, yeah, that's just fine. So that is going to happen. It looks to me like she went to school actually in Idaho. Her law degree is from Idaho, which a lot
Oh,
of
wow.
attorneys aren't, but she went to the
Wow.
University of Idaho up in Moscow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Well, no wonder she's on the Kohberger case then. She's from U of I.
right. I know. I thought that
It's
too.
interesting.
Interesting. She's an alma mater. Uh,
Yeah.
so, as with Lori's trial, you recall, there was a lot of back and forth. Each person would be assigned essentially or had taken on certain witnesses, and would be in charge of,
Yeah.
of talking to them and whatnot. You'll see that in this case, and we'll get to learn a little bit more about Ingrid. I'm very excited to see what we think of her.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, me too. Very interesting. And I just every time I see a woman assigned to one of these cases, I'm like, "Yes, we
mhm,
need that."
yeah. So she has a bachelor's from the College of Idaho. That's where my son played football and went to school.
Oh, yeah.
And then she went on to the University of Idaho. And that's where she got her JD. So that's, to me, it's pretty cool. She also
Mhm.
wrote a book called Attorney Fee Awards in Idaho, a handbook.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah. She served on
Sounds
the
like a
board of
very boring book. Is
she
that wrong to
served
say?
yeah, probably not one I'm gonna run out and buy. But she served on the Advocates Against Family Violence Board of Directors for a few years. She's the president of the Third District Bar Association.
Hmm.
She was a staff attorney for the Third Judicial Court of Idaho starting out. She was a law clerk to George Southworth. Then she was a Canyon County prosecuting attorney
Hmm.
and until 2022, and from 2022 on, she has worked for the Idaho Attorney General's office. So, pretty cool. She is also so she graduated college in 2016. So she's
Oh,
not a
wow.
yeah, she's
She
not an
is
old
very
seasoned yeah, gal.
with
She's
being in practice 8 years. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So good on her. So Ingrid, we are
Yeah.
very excited to have you on board this case and can't wait to see what you do. Yeah.
Mhm. Bring it on.
Mhm.
Yeah, excited to see her in court.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see what she's like. So Paula said, I'm tired of all this old stuff with poor Toad Faced and Mr. Pearl Clutcher, right?
Right? I gotta
Agree.
say, though, can you imagine how pissed off Pryor is right now? That the
Oh, yeah.
Attorney General's office is lending an attorney to the prosecution after all this stupid shit he has
Mhm,
pulled and gotten himself lambasted in the face with the fact that he has screwed around for too long,
mhm,
and he's on his own in this case unless he ever found somebody that would come on. But I don't think anybody wants to work with him.
mm-mm,
I also don't think anyone wants to come on with this case because
mm-mm.
this case should have been pled out. I would imagine most reasonable attorneys
Yeah,
look at him and go, "What are you doing?"
mhm, for sure. Connie said, "Gosh, she looks so young and beautiful, right? She's just lucky
right?
she's coming in at the tail end of this shit, or she might look exhausted and disgusted."
Right? She might, although she fits right in with Lindsay Blake because Lindsay's young and beautiful too.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad we've got these ladies in this
Right?
state. It's good.
They're kicking butt and taking names. We'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, a quick note in Harmony Montgomery. Her
Yes.
mother has been in court this week requesting that a court officially uh, declare Harmony deceased so that mom can move forward with her wrongful death lawsuit. Because, of course, she is suing uh, the Child Protective Service organizations that completely dropped the ball on Harmony, lost Harmony.
Right.
Well, I don't want to say let this happen because no one let this happen except for Adam Montgomery, but didn't do a
Well,
proper
and
job.
Caleb Montgomery. Let's
Well,
get
yeah,
real.
Kayla, who's getting bail or getting
Parole.
parole.
Her parole is granted. She gets out in
Hmm.
May.
Yep,
So gross.
unthinkable. But the judge initially said that he was basically going to sit on that, and then came back today and said, "Okay, fine, yeah,
I mean, if
we're
someone's
going to grant
convicted
that."
of Harmony's murder,
Ha-
then you have to
yeah.
declare her dead. I mean, the jury has basically already done that
Hmm.
by convicting Adam Montgomery. That's such a weird thing.
Yeah, very weird. So she did finally get her ruling so she can move forward with her wrongful death case, as she should,
Good.
as she
Yes,
absolutely should.
most
If
definitely.
only for the accountability of what happened. There needs to be a
Yes.
really detailed look at what happened here so that, I don't know, we can stop letting this happen. So
Yes.
I'm glad
Yes.
she's doing it. I think the accountability is really, really necessary at this point.
Absolutely.
Kristi, there's a little bit in Maxwell.
Yes, but I wondered before we get to that if we should talk a little bit about we made our plans about how we're going to handle the Daybell case,
Yeah.
the Daybell jury or
Hmm.
trial. That's what I'm
Trial.
looking for. So
Yeah.
I was wondering maybe we should explain what we're going to do so y'all
Let's
know
do.
what to be watching for.
Yeah. So we are going to live stream it. We will live stream it from tip to tail. It's all going to be here on this channel. And then
Hmm.
every day that there is court, we'll come back in the evening for a live stream and talk about what happened during the day.
Yep.
We understand that not everybody can watch the entire trial. To be frank, neither of us can either. I mean, we all have
We're
lives. We'll
going
do
to
the
do our
best we can.
best.
Yeah, but it is what it is. But we will. We're not going to live tweet it because we still have carpal tunnel from last year, and that's just we're
Well, and
just
I mean,
not.
we live tweeted it because we couldn't live stream it. And now that we
Mhm.
can, we don't really feel like we need to do both.
Yeah, so we're not going to tweet it, but we will be doing lives just about, I would imagine it'll be at least 4 lives a week there for a while.
Yeah, because
Just,
this uh the judge Boyce likes to do like Monday through Thursday for the most part. So he did
yeah,
with Lori. So hopefully that's what he's going to do here too.
yeah, for sure. So that's how we are planning on handling it, though. We are welcome to, we're welcome. We are welcoming suggestions, but that's our best plan right now. We think that's probably
Hmm.
some nights. I'm sure there will be a live that is only one or the other of us and not
Hmm.
both. But that's how we're going to do it. That's what we're looking at. So,
Yep, but we're
yep.
going to make sure you're going to get every bit of it and all of our analysis and
Hmm.
all of our experience with the other trial and all of,
Yeah.
it. We know this
Mhm.
case
Inside out and
like
backwards.
nobody does.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll be sharing that every single day.
Yep.
It's going to get wild, but it'll be fun
Also,
too. It'll
Chad
be
could be
really
getting
interesting.
transported any day now. He has
Yes.
to be in Boise by the 22nd. So
Yep.
he could be getting transported anytime. So
Yep.
word has it that the jail in Boise does not serve hot pockets for most meals. So I don't know what he's going to do. I think that that's going to be, will he have hot pocket withdrawals? Will it be the best day of his life? Will
Right.
other food completely interrupt his constitution at this point? We don't know.
Right. Is there some sort of weird dependency on hot pockets now?
I think
I
so.
don't know.
There's a lot of chemicals in hot pockets.
That
Yeah,
is true.
yeah. Okay, well, I was going to move on to Maxwell, but Mouse had a question about next Benedict. So actually, let's go ahead and talk about next. Right,
Let's
next.
do.
Next.
Okay, so there is some information out But I want to be clear that this is only partial results of an autopsy. This is not the full autopsy. And so, although this gives us some information, we want to be careful because the Owasso police are saying that due to what the medical examiner has released, which is only part of their results, is that this is a suicide because Nex had some medication at high levels in her system. Now, the thing we got to be really careful about is that this is only a partial report.
Yeah.
It does not address Nex's injuries. Also, the assumption that it is an overdose, a suicide versus an accidental overdose is also an assumption on the part of the Owasso police. So we want to be really careful here that yes, there is some information coming, but until the whole report is released, and that's on the 27th, we don't have the whole story. And we have seen from the very beginning, there's a lot of ass covering going on with the police. So
Spinning,
you're going to
lying.
see, you're going to see news articles, you're going to see TikTokers, you're going to see people talking about this, saying that her death is a suicide. That is not necessarily the case. We need the whole story, and we won't get that until at least the 27th of this month. So the good thing is that investigation is moving forward on this. And, the police can jump on this all they want, but they know damn well that when partial results come out, that is not enough to say what the reality of the situation is.
Well, these are the same people who said after Nex died that they immediately said it wasn't because of the fight.
Yes,
It
that it
wasn't
was
had
natural
nothing to do
causes
with
and had
her
nothing to do
with
with
their
the fight.
injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we know we can't really trust the Owasso police in this situation. I think we can trust the medical examiner. And so let's wait and see what that autopsy shows before we can make a full.
Yeah. But you are going to see people right and left now saying
report.
that Nex killed themselves.
It's
So
shitty that this has been released where it is our only partial report. They should not have even be talking about it yet until they've got the whole report. But there's a real desperation here to make sure that this isn't anybody's fault. And I think that's bullshit. So,
but let's be clear.
We'll wait.
Even if at the end of the day it is ruled a suicide, that simply means that Nex was bullied to death.
Yes, it does.
Period.
The bullying has still happened. The horrific assault at the school still happened.
Yep.
It doesn't negate any of that. And it doesn't negate the response from the school. It doesn't negate the initial response from the police. It doesn't negate any of it.
Not at all.
So we will keep talking about it.
Yeah. Well, and my other final thought on that is just that if Nex did overdose on purpose, we can't know what kind of mindset was going on there with someone who had a head injury.
Right.
So again, I still go back to it doesn't matter. It's all in the same handbasket now.
Well, and I want to know what the report says about Nex's physical injuries.
Yeah.
That's a very key element, and that's not in this report. This is just toxicology.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Oh, interesting. Mouse said I live near where Brianna Gay was murdered and wondered if this would turn out to be a similar bullying leading to assault case. Either way, it's horribly sad. Yep. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Well, now talk to us about that twat waffle Ghislaine Maxwell.
Guys, Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't want to do 20 years in prison.
Aww.
Can you hear my eye roll? So she has asked a federal appeals court on Tuesday to overturn her conviction. Her attorneys have. And it's so dumb, okay? Because this was addressed in the trial. There was a plea agreement that Jeffrey Epstein had in 2007 that she thinks her attorneys want to say applies to her. Now, it has already been found that it did not apply to her then, nor does it apply to her now. But here's kind of some of what is being said. by her defense attorney, Diana Faby Sampson, said the plea agreement applies to preclude this prosecution. This isn't a prosecution, lady. This was a conviction, okay? This is appellate. This is not, or appellant. This is not a trial, okay? But there's a three-judge panel, second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals who's hearing it. The other thing that her attorney said, grab your butts. Denying the viability of this plea agreement strikes a dagger in the heart of the trust between the government and its citizens regarding plea agreements, except this
Not
plea
a
agreement was
dagger.
not for Ghislaine Maxwell in the first fucking place. Yeah. So this already came up during trial because this happened in Florida, if you'll recall. It's not her trial. It was a totally different one. And the trial judge said, nope, prosecutors in New York are not bound by a plea agreement in Florida. Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah. So we already know that this is just a Hail Mary. So it's really probably not going to go anywhere, but it's gross.
Unlikely.
Here's the other thing in the appeal that her attorney wrote. That she was made a proxy for Epstein, who died by suicide in prison, shall we say, to satisfy public outrage about his conduct. Oh no, Ghislaine, we're outraged about your conduct, you gross bitch. As if she didn't do anything. She did a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of testimony against her.
The constant, why should I be the only one in trouble?
Yeah, well, it's not our fault that Epstein, something happened to him.
And you did a lot of bad shit, Ghislaine. I mean, why should you? Because you broke the law. Because you harmed children. Because you're a horrific human. I mean, this isn't that hard.
You're a sex trafficker, lady. So they're also arguing that she was denied a fair trial because one of the jurors failed to disclose his own history of sexual abuse during jury selection. That also has already been dealt with. So they're hoping that the appeals court that hears this is going to bring them something. I don't know. So what prosecutor said is nothing in Maxwell's appellate argument today changes the fact that she does not get a free pass and her conviction should be upheld. Survivors deserve nothing less. Right. It's not as though she did nothing. She did all kinds of really gross and sketchy shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
that she was held accountable for. Period.
Yeah. She is being held in a low security prison. She's not even being treated like a sex offender, which she should be. She is in a low security prison. Low security prisons, pretty cushy. Not nearly as bad as if she were being treated like the sex offender that she is. And she is in prison until at least 2037, which is exactly where her ass ought to be.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what the appeals court said, but I will be very surprised if they say anything other than, nah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of people being whiny in court and being told, nah, let's talk about Nicholas Rossy, Alaverhdian.
Not Arthur Knight.
He's been in court a couple of times recently. And one of those trips to court was the fact that he has not paid his attorneys yet. He hasn't really officially retained attorneys because he hasn't paid them. Why? Because his wife is in charge of paying them, and she's in the UK, and that's just taking a really long time, and there's a lot of communication issues. Motherfucker knows there's not. She is in the UK. You have email and phone calls, but at least she does, and you're
not another planet, okay?
I'm gonna bet he doesn't have any money. Yeah,
me too. How is he gonna pay for an attorney? He's not.
So the prosecutor's like, Judge, please just assign him a public defender, and let's get on with this. And the judge is like,
Right?
I'm going to give him 4 weeks. 4 weeks. So the clock is ticking. I'll bet you a bazillion dollars. Well, I don't want to say that for sure because, people get held accountable for those things. I'm going to theoretically bet you a bazillion dollars since that's not a real number. I don't think that he ends up with a public defender. But
Right.
the
Here's
other
another
thing,
reason I bet he doesn't want a public defender, though, is because then he would have to admit to his identity. Because
mm,
there's a whole application process to
hmm
get a public defender.
hmm well, he really isn't wanting to do that because he also has made a complaint to the judge. It's not fair. And I need you. I'm sorry, I can't do his accent. I really wish I could. I wish I was that good. He can't. He also can't do his accent though, to be fair.
No.
But it's not fair because the people at the jail are calling me Nicholas Rossy. And I want to be called Arthur Knight because that's my name. And the judge said, that's your name. So sorry about it. The judge did say that they would be more than happy to call him Mr. Brown in the courtroom if he would prefer, but they are most certainly not instructing the jail that they have to call him by an AKA.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah. Or Mr. Knight, sorry.
I was like, wait a minute. There's
Yeah.
another?
Well, would it surprise anyone here? No, Mr.
No, it
Knight.
would not.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently the judge, although I'll bet you $1 million, the judge totally forgets because the judge looked like they were about 1,000,000 years old. And
Well, also, they've got all this documentation on this case and this person, and none of it is in that name because that is
no,
not his name.
Yeah.
As we all know.
But wanted the judge to force the jail to start calling him Arthur Knight.
That's hilarious.
I love that the judge was like, yeah, we're not doing that.
I mean, think about Boyce with Lori Vallow.
Mhm.
How many times did she request to be called
Mhm.
Mrs. Daybell?
Mhm.
He has not done it at
Mm-mm.
all.
No. Not at all.
Yeah.
For good reason, due to being a jackass. Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of jackasses, tell us about the Tates.
Oh, hey. Good news. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested in Romania on a UK warrant related to sexual aggression charges. Because remember, Romania held them for a while and then let them out stupidly. So the UK said, well, hold our beer. We will just, we will go for them instead. And so they were served a warrant in Romania and for, their charges there.
More sex charges. Yeah.
Yeah. That allegedly occurred between 2012 and 2015. Their spokesperson said Andrew and Tristan Tate unequivocally deny all allegations and decry what they perceive as an exploitative use of the legal system. How dare they arrest us for crimes we definitely committed?
Yeah, because
I mean, come on.
We're rich and outspoken and a lot of people hate us. So obviously if you arrest us, it's being unfair.
Yes.
Maybe you're just a crimer. Maybe you're just a crimer. And yeah.
And you need to just go away. There's that famous murderer in the UK that is in his own cell in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
The UK cannibal guy who isn't a cannibal. I think they should just put the Tates in with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That seems like a good call.
A law firm that's representing the victims in the UK said, we are grateful to the British authorities for taking our concerns seriously and issuing an arrest warrant. Tate is accused of serious criminal offenses against a large number of victims, and he must be held accountable.
But sure, it's just a political hit job. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Jen, for sure.
Yeah.
Good. Because he wasn't just shit online. He needed to go right back to bed. Yeah.
So much. So yes, UK, Romania couldn't get it done, but the UK, it looks like they are.
Well, I think Romania is still in the process of getting it done. I don't think they're just.
They are,
drop
but
their
they let
charges,
them
but
out, and I cannot
yeah.
figure out why they let them out. He is
Mhm.
Tate, Andrew particularly, but really both of them are seriously dangerous human beings
Yeah.
who should
Yeah.
not be out in the public.
Well, they had such a hard time catching up with them when they had their warrant in the
Yes.
first place. He
Till they
busted
did that
himself.
Twitter post.
Yeah. He
Such a
just had to
dumbass.
go and tweet sitting next to a pizza box that proved that you were in the country.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm glad. I'm very glad. That makes me happy. Oh, let's see. Well, let's talk about Kohberger.
Let's do. Sometimes Idaho gets it right, man.
Aren't you just, I'm amazed at the difference in prosecution, or sorry, in the difference in defense.
Right?
His defense is relentless,
They are.
just relentless. And they have gone clear to the Idaho Supreme Court in trying to get the indictment thrown out. Um, they have a few reasons, and I'll share those with you. But, when things go to the Supreme Court, you don't know how long that's going to take or what's going to happen.
Or if they'll
But
even take it up.
but the Supreme Court pretty rapidly said, "No, bitch, we're not doing that." What they did give them
That
is
indictment stands.
they did agree to seal their brief of their application, essentially. His
Of
request
course.
to hide the contents of the motion, because Idaho, man, they love doing this.
So annoying.
So basically, they're complaining that they wanted the indictment dismissed for a couple of reasons. They said it should be thrown out due to inaccurate grand jury instructions. They argued that the standard for a grand jury to indict should be beyond a reasonable doubt rather than probable cause. So they're just fighting policy here.
It's just semantics. Yeah.
They also sought to have the indictment dismissed due to what they referred to as a biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, a lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct.
But all of that are just accusations with
Yep.
nothing to back them up. There is
That's
no evidence that any of that is true.
Yeah, that's just like your opinion, man. Yep.
Yep.
Mostly it's that defense attorneys really hate grand juries.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I didn't think for one second that the Idaho Supreme Court was going to negate what that grand jury did, though. I really no. They're not going to. That would set a precedent that would be disastrous for lots of other cases.
Yeah.
But
he is getting a robust defense. Wow.
Boy, isn't he though? My God.
Fighting the evidence really hard, fighting the DNA evidence really hard, fighting the grand jury stuff really hard. They're going hard, but at any rate, they also granted the prosecution's request to seal their objection. So, of course, it's all sealed because it's all evidence that we're not supposed to really get to see till trial,
Which may happen sometime
someday.
this century?
Maybe. The fact that came back as quick as it did really does help maybe speak to a trial happening, They're still saying probably not until summer of 2025, which is just bananas. The victims' families are so over this and want it done. Right. That's not how grand juries even work. Right, Bob? It's ridiculous. They just don't like grand juries. Yeah.
Well, and they just don't like Idaho law. This is what it should be, but it isn't.
Right. So
sorry about it. Vote, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Like what? Yeah.
Do what you want to try to change the system. I can't help you, but that's wild. Okay, let's see. Oh, Crumbley.
Yes. So this Crumbley, James Crumbley's trial has gone by very quickly, particularly because he, I think wisely, did not testify in his own defense. So closing arguments were today, and the case is with the jury. So, one of the things that the prosecuting attorney said that I thought was very powerful is James Crumbley is not on trial for what his son did. James Crumbley is on trial for what he did and what he didn't do. we all know he bought that gun for his kid. He taught him how to use it. He did not lock it up. He did not lock up the ammunition, and he did not get his kid any mental health help, even on the day of the shooting. He
Mhm.
didn't do anything
Mhm.
that uh, could have stopped it.
Mhm.
And, the defense attorney said you heard no testimony and saw no evidence that James had any knowledge that his son was a danger to anyone, which is bullshit. That is not true.
Mhm.
But also, the bottom line is you're the parent. It is your job to know. If you didn't know, that is by definition negligence.
Right.
If your kid was this screwed up and you didn't know it, well, where the
Yeah.
hell were you?
You didn't know it when he specifically asked you to help him get some help and you told him to suck it up?
Yeah.
Wow, James, I just don't know what to say about that. Yeah.
Well, and when Ethan sent a picture of the gun with a bullet in the chamber to his friend and said, "Ha ha, my dad forgot to lock it up," not long
Yeah.
before the shooting occurred. Like, that's
Mhm.
pretty damning, you dumbass.
Yeah.
So, he is charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, just like his wife Jennifer was.
Mhm.
Jennifer absolutely sunk her own ship when
Mhm.
she testified, so I'm sure that's why he didn't. In
Mhm.
the midst of this trial, all of his communication at the jail has been limited because of him making threats. What an
Sending
idiot.
threatening phone calls and emails.
Yeah, that
Who who is he threatening?
I don't know. They wouldn't say, but even doing that at all while you're on trial for murder is
Mhm.
really stupid and telling exactly who you are.
Yeah. That's super sus.
So, hopefully we see the jury come back today or tomorrow, maybe the next day. We'll see. I can't
Yeah.
imagine it's going to take him very long. Didn't
I'll
take him
bet
very
it's
long on
tomorrow.
Jennifer.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
only deliberated for like 2 hours today before they broke
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
day.
Because they
I'll
didn't start this morning. James's sister testified in his defense. That was all they had
Mhm.
in his defense. And then they did closing arguments this afternoon and a brief deliberation. So,
She was pretty lackluster. I
what are you going to say?
right.
Really? Yeah.
The only difference to me, 2 things that kinda jump out to me. They did hammer pretty hard on Jennifer's affairs and being constantly at the stables and things like that, that she was not available to her kid. They didn't have that much, about why James sucked so much. He was at the stables a lot too, I think, he,
Hmm.
uh but that wasn't quite as, potent, I think. The other thing that, jumps out a little bit to me is that Jennifer what the juror that spoke after they convicted Jennifer said that one of the things that really jumped out at them is that she was the last adult to have the gun,
Right.
which I think is actually not true. She said she left it in the back of her car because she didn't wanna have to deal with it, and then she doesn't know what happened to it after that. But
Because he was supposed to
mhm,
lock it up or whatever, put the trigger lock on it. Yeah.
mhm, yeah,
The thing is, though, if Jennifer's out having all these affairs and at the stable all the time, then he better, by God, be there with his kid, making sure he's
mhm,
okay. And he wasn't.
and he
Just
wasn't.
wasn't. Yeah.
Also, was he not yeah, he was working DoorDash, yeah.
Mhm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I was hashing this out in my head earlier today, because there was a moment when, Ethan said he was having a hard time and his dad, I believe, gave him some of his pills, correct?
Yeah, I
It
remember
jumps out
something
at me
about
that
that.
he was actually on a mental health med,
Mhm.
and if that's true, you got yourself mental health care, but you would not get your kid mental health care, James?
Yep. They wouldn't get their kid anything. That's
No.
just how these trash people are.
Mhm. Indeed.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have a verdict for you tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's see. Tell us what is up with Petito. There's a pretty good development
Boy,
there.
Gabby's parents are like, we are not going to be done till we've sued the living shit out of everybody. So
Mhm.
we know that they finally settled with the Laundries.
Mhm.
Um, but now they have a lawsuit against the police in Moab, Utah,
Mhm.
who, what they're saying is that The police who questioned Gabby Petito during that traffic stop could have prevented her murder, and they could have. Gabby was injured. She was crying hysterically during
Mhm.
their entire conversation, and they did not ask her any questions. They did
Mhm.
not see a need to protect her. They fell right in line with Brian Laundrie, who was talking about, well, she's just
Mhm.
crazy and that's how it is. They didn't see they didn't use their own training to see that there was something very wrong there for
Yeah.
her. And they just, kept them apart for a night and then let them go on their way.
Mhm.
And, I've watched all the body camera footage and it's disgusting to me,
Yeah.
as hysterical and sobbing as she is, and she has an injury on her face, that the police are just completely unfazed by her.
Mhm.
And that someone had witnessed the
Not even
original
completely
report.
unfazed, the way they flipped the script on her to
Yeah.
make her the villain and the bad guy.
Yep,
Yeah.
they did. Because what was originally reported in the 911 call was that he was hitting her.
Yeah.
But somehow, well, Brian just did the thing that
Mhm.
men do. Oh, you know
Mhm.
how it is. These crazy women.
Mhm. And that one cop that was like, "Oh, yeah, my wife's like this too." Darling,
Yep.
I hope you have run by now. I hope you have
Yes.
run
Get the hell away
for the
from this
hills
idiot.
because that seriously concerns me for that cop's wife. But
Right.
anyway,
Right.
beyond that.
So it will here's an interesting one for you. Um, there was a stay originally issued by the court in Utah. But just at the end of February, that stay was lifted, allowing this complaint to proceed.
Mhm.
Uh, the attorney's office that is representing them is Brian C. Stewart of the Parker and McConkey law firm.
Oh, for God's
Sound
sake.
familiar? Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, uh, that someone witnessed that he hit
Mhm.
her, right, Brandy? So they're taking this all the way to the top, and I'm really glad they are, because absolutely nothing went Gabby's way.
No.
Absolutely no one tried to
No one.
protect her or recognized the situation for what it was.
Mhm.
It was just gross. So I hope they win. I hope they win a lot.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Okay. Uh, let's see. Kristi, I think go ahead and talk to us about the Peterson case, and then I
Oh,
will finish us out with Delphi.
okay. So, as we all know, Scott Peterson has been back in court.
Mhm.
This makes me sick to my stomach to even think about this. So
Mhm.
he is trying to overturn his conviction. Now, we already know that the death penalty has been overturned in his case because there were some problems. Uh, and the solution to that was to commute his sentence to life rather than the death penalty.
Mhm.
Um, so now they're trying to get his case overturned. So the Los Angeles Innocence Project, which is not the Innocence Project, like the big Innocence Project, this is an individual project just in LA, has
Mhm.
taken up his case. And they are filing a motion for DNA testing that could potentially clear Peterson,
Mhm.
which makes me sick because I do not believe for 1 second that Scott Peterson is innocent.
Yeah.
So there are 3 motions pending right now. There's one for post conviction DNA testing. It has something to do with a van that was near his home that was involved in a burglary at or near the time of Lacey's disappearance. Um, so the LA Innocence Project recently overturned a murder conviction of someone called Maurice Hastings, who has spent 4 decades in prison um, before he was declared innocent. So they're basically trying the same thing on Scott Peterson. So let's see. What else did I want to tell you? So anyway, that's pretty much it. So they've
Mm.
been in court um getting this going. We don't really know anything yet,
Mhm.
but they bid to overturn his original conviction.
Yep. Good.
So we shall see.
We'll keep
You know, this
tracking it.
is mostly in part to Peterson's sister, Janie Peterson,
Mhm,
who has really fought and really been an advocate for him.
mhm,
I don't know, man. It's scary to me. I mean, I don't want him
mhm.
to be in prison if he didn't do it, but I just cannot see a way in which he didn't. You
Right.
know?
All of the stuff he did do is so sketchy.
Right. Right. Yeah, he lied to the police about what he was doing that day. That was very sketchy. He sold his wife's car. He researched selling their house, turned their baby nursery into a storage room right after Lacey disappeared. There was
Mhm.
the whole issue with the girlfriend. Like, there was a lot of stuff.
Who he had told weeks before that his wife was dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's gross and scary. And I just hope that what we see with the DNA is that it just absolutely confirms his guilt. And we can
Just
move
makes
on
me
from Scott Peterson.
yeah, it just makes me so sad for Lacey's family that they get to
Oh,
get drugged through
Jesus.
this shit again.
Right. They've already been through that huge trial and all the shit that they went through
Mhm,
after they lost Lacey and her baby. And now
mhm.
this.
It's just
Yuck.
unthinkable and inexcusable. Yeah.
It is. So we will be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of unthinkable and inexcusable, let's talk about Delphi. S
Holy moly.
Really, yeah, interesting things came out this last week. First of
Mhm.
all, Richard Allen's attorneys have filed for uh, expedited trial. In Indiana, you can file for an expedited trial at any point that would give the judge basically no choice than to set the trial date 70 days out. And so they did that. I think that, and this is my opinion, but I think the reasoning here would simply be that A, uh, we have to create some kind of motion here in this case. B, it's very clear that they have an incredibly biased judge in Judge Goal that is not going to uphold Richard Allen's due process rights in any way. And then to add to that, we have the problems with the prosecutor and all of the dishonest stuff that's gone on there. And so I wonder if their reasoning is let's just get this shit over with. We don't think they have much of a case. It's all very material, but or immaterial, but if they convict, that's fine. We're going to go straight to appeals. Major problems here. So I think that they're just rolling the dice because what else are they going to do? They can't let this go
Right.
on for more years, or who knows if Richard
Mm-mm.
Allen will even still be alive.
Right.
It's a
Right.
mess. Yeah.
And obviously Judge Gull is never going to actually treat this case seriously and
No.
unbiasedly. So they may as well just get out from under her as soon as possible.
Yep. Absolutely. So there's that, and she did grant it because, frankly, she just didn't have any choice at all. I mean, she had to.
It's his constitutional right.
hmm So his trial now is set to happen about smack dab in the middle of Chad Daybell's. So it is scheduled right now for May 13th
Yeah.
to start
And
on May
Missy,
13th.
we don't know if Richard Allen is innocent or not.
Yeah.
It's impossible to know because we don't know what actual, real, provable evidence they have against him.
Yeah.
And his civil rights have been violated so egregiously
hmm
that I don't know
Personally,
that there can ever
I do
be
think he's
a
innocent.
safe. Yeah. I mean, I unless they've
Yeah.
got some stuff that we don't know about, so do I. But
Yeah.
at this point, it's all been fucked up so badly that it's
Yeah.
impossible to know at
And
this
the
point, I
amount of
think.
dishonesty on the part of the police and the prosecution is
Jeez, right?
speaking of a dagger to the heart of the prosecutorial process or whatever she said. Uh
Right.
so a couple other things that happened. So now there's a trial date and it's in a hot second. So that's wild. Um but something really wild happened with the prosecutor. The prosecutor shot himself flat in the foot.
Yeah.
Uh and I think he did it because he just is that lazy at this point. He's that entitled
And
at this point,
arrogant.
arrogant
Yeah.
because Goal gives him everything he wants. So he has filed 3 times now with the courts trying to force the defense to turn over all of their mental health information about like evaluations and things like that about Richard Allen. And the first 2 times they asked for it, the judge said no. Well, they filed for it again. And in their brief, they indicated that the reason they were asking for it is that they know that the defense had asked the courts for money. Remember, they're public defenders, asked the courts for money in order for them to hire a mental health expert. Why did he know that? Well, he knew that because he
Mhm.
viewed an ex parte document, ex parte meaning one party. So when something's filed ex parte, that means just us, just the defense, or just the prosecution is going to the judge with something that is for their eyes only.
Yeah.
And Judge Gold had already said earlier in this trial and had ruled that if one party was caught viewing ex parte documents or work product, they would be held in contempt. That was a threat that's already been made. Well, guess what? The only reason he knew, and he admitted that the reason he knew, is because he was viewing ex parte documents. It's
God.
huge. It should be huge. It should be huge.
Right. It should
With
be.
this judge, who the hell knows?
Right.
But basically, so now they're coming back going, wait a damn minute. He's viewing their work product. He's viewing their ex parte communications with the judge. It's a big deal.
Well, and where would he have gotten that except from the judge?
Right. He would have
Like,
had
the
to have
judge
gotten
had
that
to
from the
know.
court. The judge or a clerk, yeah, that had to have come from the court in some way. So, yet again, we don't trust this judge for very good reason.
Yeah.
But we don't trust the prosecutor because he knew he wasn't supposed to do that. He knows that's against the
Right.
law, but he was doing it anyway. So after those things came out and the defense said, "Wait a damn minute. How do you know that we were doing that? There's only one way." And he had essentially admitted it in his filing anyway. He went, hey, about that filing to, get a hold of those mental health records, I'm going to retract that. I'm just going to pull that back across the table now. Let's just forget this ever happened.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
After the way that they have gone after Alan's attorneys
Mm-hmm.
and that leak of that evidence and all that shit happened,
Mm-hmm.
and now this guy is literally admitting it.
Well, and he
Come
still has a
on.
motion in play to remove these attorneys. What's going to happen when you actually have a trial or a hearing on that, if you ever do? Because, Judge Gold doesn't actually like to have hearings. She just likes to file something,
She
off the
just
cuff.
rules like a dictator from the throne, apparently.
Hmm. She does. But what's going to happen when he says, these guys have to be removed because they're yada yada? And they go, well, that's pretty interesting coming from you, McClellan, because here's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. But beyond all of that, this case has been called by Bob Moda the case that never sleeps, and it truly is. The filings just keep on coming.
Mhm.
They have filed an 18-page motion to compel discovery on Nick McClelland in the state, and it's huge. So it's actually a motion to compel and a motion for sanctions.
Yes.
I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, obviously. It is enormous, enormous. But I will share a link with you in case you want to go back and read it. It's really, really interesting. But basically, they're saying that a lot of exculpatory evidence has never been turned over to them. All of their stuff was supposed to be turned in sometime around December 2022. They are still sending evidence over. Still. It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. But what they're saying is we knew that these things existed and we had to ask for them because you'd never given them to us. Had we not inferred or learned from talking to various people that different pieces of evidence were out there that we assume that you have, we would have just never received them because we're having to hunt things down and say to you, hey, do you have this interview? Do you have this videotape? Do you have this letter or this filing? And they go, oh, and a lot of times it's a good 6 months later that they go, oh, yeah, here you go. And
It's such bullshit.
not all of it is exculpatory, but it doesn't matter because they have missed the window by more than a year now of when they're supposed to be turning over evidence that they are still slowly sending over. It is insanity.
It's
But
this kind of shit that got the death penalty dropped from Lori Daybell's case, or Lori Ballow's case.
yeah.
It's the same thing. They, you can't just not turn over evidence.
hmm
That's not allowed.
They're talking again about the Purdue professor. When they knew that that interview with the Purdue professor happened, and the sheriff and the prosecutor had said, "Oh yeah, the Purdue professor that we talked to, he says that this has nothing to do with Odinism. He's not seeing anything like that." And these guys are like, "Wait a minute. What Purdue professor? We haven't seen anything." And then they
Right.
came back and said, "Oh, sorry, we don't know his name. New phone, who dis? We don't have."
Right. We don't know his name. We interviewed him, but we don't know his name. Yeah, okay.
So then when they finally had to admit who he was, and these guys were able to finally get the work product out of it and get to have a conversation with that person, they learned that that was the opposite of what he said.
Yeah.
He said this absolutely represented Odinism, and they absolutely flatly lied about that. But
Yeah.
and that's just one. There's another one with interview that they did by a man, I believe by the last name of Rice, who is a part of that Odinist group,
Mm-hmm.
who told his attorney, and his attorney wrote a letter essentially saying that these are the people that I believe were involved in the murder. These are the
Oh
people
my God.
that I believe were involved in the murder. And it's the same people they've been talking about this,
Right.
ever since they filed for the Franks motion.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never turned over. Nothing about this person or any of those conversations were turned over to the defense until the defense got wind of them speaking to this person and demanded those things. And a good 6 months later, they received them,
Jesus.
and so on and so forth for 18 pages. It is so egregious. It is insanity. So that big filing is out there right now. I don't know what's going to happen in this case, you guys. Your guess is as good as mine. I just don't know.
Well, I'm very curious to see a trial rushed to May and see what they actually have
Yeah.
in evidence, what really exists that
hmm
the prosecution has against Richard Allen. Because
hmm
all of this subterfuge is telling me that they don't have shit,
Right. Right. They
you
don't.
know?
They don't. And there's so much exculpatory evidence. One of the things they were fighting about is the geofencing information that they
Mm.
didn't turn over, didn't turn over, didn't turn over, finally turned it over. And that showed exactly who was in the area at the time of these murders. And a lot of it matches right up, those phone numbers match right up to the very people that the defense is putting it on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. So we're just going to keep our peepers on it. It's all we can do, and just keep talking about it because
Yeah.
this is not the way our justice system is supposed to work. And
No.
frankly, I am really concerned about all cases that Judge Gold is on or has ever been on at this point, and Nick McClelland,
Right.
and about the justice system in Indiana in general, because what the hell?
Right.
This is
And the
all
Supreme
so
Court who left
wrong.
Judge Gold on this case after all this
Mhm.
shit. I
I
mean,
hope they
come
ruin the day of
on.
that every day. I hope
I
every
would
day
imagine.
those justices look at each other and go, we really screwed up. We
Yeah.
really screwed up. I would hope
Well,
so, but I don't know.
uh, I'm just
But this
glad that
isn't
there's so much
justice.
light on this case
Mhm.
because hopefully it will shut down this mess
Yeah.
eventually.
Mhm. Indeed.
Um, there was a question I wanted to answer really quick.
Sure.
Pauline asked if we can ship to the UK.
Yeah.
Uh, go message me on Fidget Whimsy. It's just Fidget Whimsy on Instagram. and we can talk about it. I have no idea what it would cost. I can look into it and see if it's worth it to you. Because what I have right now is shipping prices available for the US. I don't mind shipping to the UK, but it might be more expensive than you want it to be. So message me and we'll find out.
They're tiny pieces. It might not be horrible.
They are. I mean, they weigh hardly anything. So.
Okay, well, that's what we've got. You guys, thanks so much for being here. We will be back tomorrow with another brand new episode, or Friday. Tomorrow, Friday. We'll see. You know, how days run away from us. but
well, and like we have a case. We're on verdict watch with Montgomery. It would be great if we could come back to you with that verdict and
Crumbley.
like
but yeah, yes.
Crumbley. What did I say?
Montgomery. I'm like, no, we already verdict
Well,
watched.
that was last week. Sorry. Yeah. Crumbley. Jesus.
It's okay. I get it. Yeah, we may very well just come back with that tomorrow and share that as well. So there's a lot going on, per always, but we'll keep our eyes on it. And then we'll be back next week with all new stuff. Next week, of course, will also be the watch party. So watch for that. And we have another watch party we're planning. We'll get to you on that one too. That'll just be a special event. So lots happening.
It'll just be for everybody.
Yeah. And per always, Chad Daybell's trial starts in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
Put on your running shoes.
I need to sleep a lot of extra for a while.
Get your snacks ready.
Yeah. Charge up your headphones, all of it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Mouse, I'm so happy you're able to be here too. I know. Our poor UK listeners really get the short end of the stick around here. Our East Coasters too, but
it's so hard to accommodate time zones. It's just impossible to do, but we appreciate you.
Yeah, happy you're here. All righty, that's it. So thanks so much for being here, guys. Have a good night. Take good care of yourselves. You deserve it. This has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad.
Bye, everybody.